perhaps the most important thing to say about Doug is, although he is, in some sense, a pillar of the establishment, one of the most important scientists in the United States, in the world, he's also not at all risk averse. He has big, bold ideas, and he's not afraid to articulate them. He's more than an inspiration. In my mind, Doug Wallace is an apotheosis of what every scientist should strive to be, and he is the example for me.
The reason Doug has made such a big contribution to the world, I think, is because he had the courage to ask those big questions before anyone else, and then had the genius to find ways to address those questions. Some of Doug's earlier papers really positioned mitochondria as potential contributors to those diseases where we didn't know or we didn't suspect, mitochondria could be involved. I feel really grateful that I was part of, something really special, and I wouldn't be where I'm now if it wasn't for Doug's lab and, things I learned as a trainee there. But I think this award is probably a good reflection of, his genius and his insight and the way he's pioneered a whole field of mitochondrial medicine.
Doug Wallace is really the founder of much of what we do. I mean, he first showed that a mitochondrial DNA mutation can cause a human disease, or that humans inherit mitochondrial DNA maternally. I mean, those are major landmarks in the field.
Doug has been right, and he's been right for even more than 40 years, showing that mitochondria play a fundamental role in the life of the cell. Now, in the last few years, we've been able to see our way to a path towards treatment of all these disorders.
Doug is a leader in mitochondrial research and studies related to aging, and also new therapies such as mitochondrial transplantation. The energy that he brings to the table, the passion he puts into his research is really contagious.
I think that Dr. Wallace has an effect on every person that he meets, scientifically and medically. It just gives you a new lens, and then when you hear him speak, then you see the full picture, and then you're totally hooked.
From the very beginning, he has been my mentor. He deeply influenced my life, and he completely changed my perspective on looking at mitochondrial disease and research.
With your mentorship, I left as an independent scientist and now spread your mission with my own mitochondrial research program in Israel. You have shaped the way I think about science, and it has been a true pleasure learning from you and modeling my own approach on the way you lead, inspire, and care for others.
I would like to acknowledge your help, wisdom, and vision. And I really think that our mitochondrial science would not be the same without you.
When I speak with Doug, I feel the mitochondria is the future, and he tries to motivate the younger investigators to follow the path in mitochondrial research.
When I was visiting a lot of different labs, one thing I noticed is that these labs worked on very niche topics. But Doug's lab, we work on pretty much anything you can think of, because mitochondria is really at the core of all these different diseases that we're working on. All these things really boil down to the mitochondria. And the reason that I really wanted to come to work at Doug's lab is just to see how the mitochondria really plays in everything that we see in medicine.
He is a phenomenal scientist, a visionary, and an amazing mentor. He was very approachable and very welcoming. And the immense knowledge that he has, it's so inspiring. He like the basics, very basics of the mitochondrial biology, also knows all the other aspects of science.
Doug is the only person that has a really open mind about traditional Chinese medicine and the Western science could be combined together to help people with mitochondrial disease.
Doug is the same person now as a senior scientist as he was when he was in his 30s. Doug was so influential as I started in his lab. Under his guidance, allowed me to bloom with what turned out to be my life's work, and that was the creation of the mitochondrial database called MitoMap. He and I have done this project together now since 1996. Doug's legacy will be long remembered as a true pioneer in establishing mitochondria as a valid an essential part of human genetics.
Doug is the person that really made me understand the true role of mitochondria and the importance of it when it comes to not only our health, but for future generations. Doug's legacy is really his concern for the next generation. I've never met someone who cares so much about the future of health, and not only for rare mitochondrial diseases, but he knows that his research and the research of others in the field of mitochondrial medicine has the power to change so many lives, and it all started with Doug.